Bids are in, the gavel is dropped. Ladies and gentlemen, here at WineBid, we are finally hammered. That's right. This is WineBid's podcast dedicated to all things wine, wine retail, wine auction, wine value, and anything else wine that we want to talk about. My name is Jeff McGurn. I'm WineBid's marketing team. With me, as always, is Paul Walker, the visionary of the vine, our wine expert. He knows everything you possibly imagine about wine compared to me. And so it's wonderful to have him
compared
on
to
the
you.
Podcast with me.
The person that works at 7-Eleven knows more about wine than Jeff. No, I'm just kidding.
That probably are.
That's not true.
Wrong. So anyway, today we're going to be starting off with, we're going to be talking about France and everything we have coming to auction on the French side. Let's start off with Bordeaux. We've got 2 bottles of 1959 Lafite Rothschild going for a cool.
Oh, was there
23.
2? I saw one.
There are 2.
Oh yeah, 2 in the same lot. You're right. Yeah.
And we've got a bunch more Lafite as well. There's a lot of Lafite in auction this week. But the things that really caught my attention was this 04 Leoville Las Casas for $200. And the reason it caught my attention is because Leoville Las Casas just came out today with On Premier at a cool drum roll, wait for it, $375 per bottle on Premier. And you will not get it for 2 years. What are the chances that bottle is going to be $375 in 2 years when it hits the shelves?
Yeah, I mean, the market sort of comes back, right? And if things are totally booming, then that would probably happen. But that's a lot. That's like getting to Angelou's territory and all these other.
Yes, you're like Bobby
and like Le Mission. I mean, Le Mission, that's really expensive. But hey,
that's a huge step up for Leoville Las Casas.
Yeah, it's good wine though. It's really, really good. So
look, it's fantastic stuff. Speaking of La Masson-Aubryon, we've got 09 La Masson-Aubryon for $565. Which I thought was, look, 09's a great year.
Yeah.
$565. That's serious pricing.
Well, it's big scores. There's some big 100-pointers for all these 09s, push the prices up a lot. But I like those half bottles of 66 Le Mission, actually. And there's multiple lots.
I saw those.
Yeah, it looks like there was an old seller. Well, I know there's a couple old sellers in this week with all kinds of things, but there were a few different bottles of that 66 Le Mission, and I thought those are great. $235 for a half bottle, and it's a tricky vintage in some parts of Bordeaux, but I'll bet these Le Missions are holding up really well. We
had an 03 Leoville Barton for $155, which didn't strike me as crazy. I still think there's tremendous value there. The EP came out at $95, so not. Still I think there's still probably great value with Leoville Barton. We have a mag of 1950 Pichon Longueville Baron for $800. And then we've got the 66 and a 750 for $255 and the 04 at $160. I thought those were cool bottles.
There's quite a few different 66 in auction. It's like a bunch of different, chateau are represented there for that vintage. So interesting to see those. They've got to be all from the same collection, I would imagine.
I would think so.
I'll look that up. Actually. Let's see.
64 Gerard Larosse for one.
Yeah, multiple mags. Yeah, I think there's like 3 or 4 of them.
There's four of them. One has a bid, but they're at $450. That actually didn't strike me as crazy, Again, this is the second growth Bordeaux, right? This is good stuff.
It's probably drinking great. That's I think probably superior to 66s, but it's the old fashioned grow the roast bottle too, which is kind of cool. You don't see those as much anymore.
Yeah. In a mag format, no less.
Yeah.
Right. With the kind of looks like, what is it, like pucker?
Funny,
in shape.
Bottle.
We've got 2015 Canon for $235, and this is an epic bottle of Canon. We've got 3 of those, and actually, this one I thought was interesting. An 82 Trotanoy for $535. We've got 2 of those, or you can get a 1985 6-liter Trotanoy for a mere $1,400. And then 2016
that
Chateau Tour.
85 6-liter is amazing. I think there was a 3-liter, a couple weeks ago, I want to say 79 or something. And I was like, wow, all of a sudden 85 6. I mean, never see big bottles like that of Chardonnay. It's really quite rare. That's a collectible one. And that's not too expensive, especially for great mid-80s vintage. So
yeah, I mean it's $140 per, about $140 per 750. That's not bad at all, right? When you consider
not for Chardonnay, no, not at
No,
all.
not for Chardonnay. So I was like that's a really cool party bottle.
Yeah,
like
it's cool amazing. One. Yeah, it's amazing. I was really surprised to see that. I was like, wow, that's special.
And then we've got a 2016 3-liter of Chateau Tour Saint Christophe for 200. And I thought that was another cool one as well.
Yeah.
What am I missing in Bordeaux? What did you get?
Yeah, some other rarities there. There's an 82 Haut-Brion stuck out at 710. Great wine. That'll, I think, go the distance. There are some critics talk about some of the 82s, the fruit fading and things like that, and some of the first growths and other wines. But I'm sure Haut-Brion's that's built for the long haul. And I think there's some 96 in there, which I always thought was much more reasonable than a lot of the other first growths from 96, considerably less. I think it's like 410 or something. It's not on my list, but I just remember it from looking at it earlier. 82 La Lagune at 135. That's another.
I saw that
inexpensive way to get into, to 82 Bordeaux, because everything else is kind of, way out there.
Well, I'm a La Lagune fan.
This is good wine. I haven't had it in
great wine
years, but yeah, it's good. 59 Lafite caught my eye. 52 Latour, 3 of those. Did you mention those? I can't remember if you did, but really, really cool looking wine. I have never had 52. It's supposed to be great, but never had it. 2000 Mouton stuck out.
You've not had a 52 Latour? You haven't had a Latour in your birth year? I'm shocked. I'm shocked.
No, have not. 2000 Mouton, 1630 piece. There's a few of those. That's a legendary wine. Sort of far and away more expensive than a lot of the other 2000 first growths. Cost a lot less on futures, I'll tell you that. I remember when these came out, actually. That was my selection of Bordeaux this week.
Let's head over to Burgundy, shall we?
Lots of great Bergs this week.
Lots of great Bergs. I only picked out a few because I knew you would go nuts. 2015 Armand Rousseau Chambertin for $29.40. This one was $2,200 in June of 2019, and then it peaked in October of 2022 at $3,095. So now it looks like we've got it potentially softening a little bit at $29.40. So I'm curious to see where that goes. 2015 Comte de Vosges, Musigny, Vide Vigne for
Vosges, VA Beans. Yeah, but that's
VA Beans. VA Beans. This one's interesting because it started at $725. Already has a bid. It's a $775. And then we also have the 19 at $850 and the 14 at $680 and then the 13 at $625.
Yeah. Nice collection of Vosges Musigny for sure. 19, I'm surprised 19 is actually not more. That's a collectible wine, or soon to be collectible wine, I should say.
Right. 2010 Bouchard, Pierre Phil, Merceau, Genevere. This one has 3 bids, taking it from 80 to 84. So we're already seeing a lot of action. Clearly, this one is underpriced compared to the market. 2019 Vincent Davassa, Chablis Le Clos for $300. And then I have my eye on this 89 Camus Charme Chambertin for $105. We've got 2 of those. How'd I do with my picks?
Not so bad. The picks were better than pronunciation. Let's put it that
way. Or so you think. You don't know how. You don't know how to pick.
But there were lots of kind of interesting older things, and then sort of mini collections of some great wines like the Vosges Musigny you mentioned, a little 13, 14, 15, 19. There was a 93 Alain Bourget Gevrey Chambertin Vieilles Vins, a whole case of that for 125 a piece. 1969 Bichot Regnault from Vosne Romanée, that stood out to me as well. Looks a great looking bottle. 300, not cheap there, but that's a wildly great vintage for Redbergs. And then, yeah, there's a old bottle of Ravenot Monte Tonnerre 1991 for 490, which is not surprising. A little mini vertical of La Font Volnay Saint-Genot. We were talking in the earlier episode about the Magnum of La Font Volnay from 2000. So you can see the 15, 18, and 19 are 135, 155, and 185 respectively. So I wouldn't be surprised those 19, a lot of these 19 reds just get pushed, higher and higher as the years go by. But anyway, those are available this week as well. 92 Sauzet Montrachet, 24.50, serious price, but that is a seriously rare wine. Should be amazing. There's a great selection of one of my favorite producers, Guilain Barteau. There's some 12 Chameau Combat, 18 from the same vineyard. And let's see, also 96 Chameau Musigny Châtelot. And I think that's the little trio of Barteau wines. Yeah, that I was thinking about that Bouchard wine, but then I also saw there's a 2010 Jean-Marc Boyau Pouligny Montrachet Le Refaire for 150. There's 4 of them actually. Didn't seem too bad. There's Jean-Marc Pillot 18 Chassagne Montrachet Verger Clos Saint-Marc, case of that as well, at 130. Oh yeah, this 09 is such great wine. It's Genot, the Bonne Première Cru celebration label. It's like the colorful label. And the 09 I've had multiple times.
I saw that.
Really, really good. It's just, friends and I, we drank a bunch of it because it was fairly reasonable on release. I think it was like 40, something like that, 45. So obviously it's climbed in price. It's gone up in price quite a bit, but it's such a great vintage. That should be drinking really well and probably will for quite a few years. 76 Louis Remy Clos de la Roche. There's 5 of those for 160 a piece. 88 Ramoissenet Montrachet half bottles, a number of them, different lots, I think, too. There's 5 in one lots that I chose from at 150. So yeah, just a lot of really kind of, eclectic selections and multiple bottles. So probably not going to be a ton of competition on in all of them, but it's great different selections in Burgundy this week.
Let's head over to Alsace, where I looked through all of the Alsatian wine coming to auction this week. And the best one, I rank ordered them. And the best deal by far is this 2010 Trimbach Riesling Cuvée Frédéric Emile. I think it also is the only Alsatian wine coming into auction.
It's the only new one in auction.
Yeah, which, by the way, it has 2 bids taken from 80 to 82. And that concludes Alsace. Let's head over to Champagne, actually. We've got a bunch of Dom Perignon coming into auction this week. A mag of 88 for 945, the 90 for 415, a mag of 90 for 830, a 96 for 385. A little bit surprised that the 90 is going for more than the 96. But, because 96, I don't know, it's like a heralded vintage, right?
90 was...
But 90 is good, but
too. So
was it 96 level quality, though?
Yeah, I don't know. They're both great. And it's cool to see. It's cool to see magnums, a couple different, also three mags each of the 90. There's some, do you see there's Enotech from 95 also, and there's P2 from 2000 and 2003. So
yes,
great champagne. And this, the 08 Rosé, which I think that's just such good wine. So great.
Just a ton of Dom. Did you by chance see this non-vintage Krug Private Cuvée Brut Reserve? Talk to me about this. Talk to me about this bottle, Paul. This one already has a bid on it, right? Taken from 600.
Yeah, I meant to kind of look at that more carefully. It's got the old fashioned label, and I want to say, I can't remember exactly what era this is, but I've seen wines from the 60s, I think, with this particular label. And it looks pretty old, but anyway, I'm not an expert, even though Jeff says that every time we do this podcast. And so I would want to consult a champagne expert on this one. But interesting. That's an interesting bottle for sure. But yeah, I would put it somewhere in the 60s or early 70s, maybe. The foil on the top looks, particularly well aged, but it's in good shape.
It's in beautiful shape, and couldn't find a ton of information on this particular bottle. I thought it was cool. Non-vintage.
Sorry, go ahead. I was gonna say we sold one, but it's been a few years, but we sold one quite a while back, and I was gonna look at the label just for fun to see, if it was the same. Yeah, looks pretty much exactly the same.
This non-vintage Ulysse Colline Extra Brut Blanc de Blanc Le Roisses.
That's a tough one.
61.
These Colline wines. Yeah, that's this one. Yeah, Les Roises.
Les Boises. This one has 3 bids taking from 360 to 553, and it is only Tuesday right now.
These guys are hot, man. I mean, pretty much all the Ulysse Colline wines, we talk about them when they pop in because they're amazing, but the prices have just gone way through the roof. And these particular bottlings are new releases. They're disgorged in 2021, I believe. Yeah, both of them disgorged in 2021. And they're also now designated with the aging time below the main label. So it's aged in the caves for 60 months, and then the other one's 48 months. Yeah. So they're rare in addition to being, a super hot producer. So I'm not too surprised. But that, 553 for the 60-month Les Roises, that's serious.
And then we've got this non-vintage Pierre Moncuy. Moncuy, Grand Cru Pierre Moncuy de los Blanc de Blancs 3 liter. We have 2 of those for $220. I thought that looked really interesting. Nice party bottle, actually. Right? $220 for a 3 liter. I thought that could be good. What did I miss in champagne?
I think I pretty much hit on all the ones on my list. There's some 2012 Hugues Godmet Verzenay Millésime. And those are at 60. That's great wine. Had that before. Really, really tasty. Those 2000 Jacques Casson Magnums, I think they're in France direct, so they'll come into the US a little later in the year from a French seller or European seller. I'm not exactly sure. I didn't look it up. But anyway, there's the Champion. I'm not familiar with this designation, but 2000 Magnum for $480, 3 of those. And then the Extra Brut Signature mags for $800 a piece. And then, you mentioned there's Cru Brut Rosé for $370 as well. Great Dom Perignon collections. Paul Barra Special Club Rosé 2-pack, also from our France Direct program. The 2-pack's at $170, and then there's a mag of the Grand Rosé for $95. Those looked great to me as well. So nice champagne collection rounded out this week. And
before we sign off, I'll just mention a few things from the Rhone. We have an 03 Jean-Louis Chave Hermitage that already has a bid on it for $800. We actually have 2 of those bottles. And then we have a 2017 Claude de Pape Chateauneuf du Pape for $70. And then we have a mag of the 20, that's 2017. We have a mag of the 2020 for $180. And then a 3 liter for $410. And then the 21 in Blanc for $70. I actually haven't seen much Claude de Pape Blanc. So I thought that one was really interesting. All those prices, for that producer, I think those are phenomenal. I think Claude de Pape punches way above its weight from my perspective. Like, for me, it's delicious stuff. And then a 2020 Georges Vernet Condrieu Coteau de Vernon, which already has a bid on it, taking it from $100 to $110.
Yeah, that's stuff's come up in price in recent vintages. 03 Chave Hermitage $800. I thought that was quite a bit, but I think it's thanks to the Parker score. So I figure. Well, and some old Chabolet La Chapelle, which is kind of cool this week as well.
I saw that Chabolet La Chapelle. Anything else in the Rhone you wanted to mention?
All right, not this week.
Folks, this has been another episode of Finally Hammered, and this is Jeff Begurn and Paul Walker wishing you happy bidding and cheers.
Cheers.